Jackie K. Cooper, and for my entertainment rundown today, I want to talk to you about some movies that you might have missed. These may not have shown up at your theater yet. You may have to, search for these because they're not getting wide release all across the country. But the first one I want to talk about is a documentary. I keep saying I don't like documentaries, and I keep watching them. This one fascinated me because the title is Making Waves: The Art of Cinematic Sound. Now, I only have one sibling. It's a brother, and he is fascinated by sound in movies. He'll tell me, I went to see such and such movie, the sound was fantastic. He has all of these, stereo, whatever, speakers all over his house, so he gets the full impact of, surround sound, if that's what you want to call it. So I know that he would really love this movie because it goes back to the days of silent film and tells how they came to introduce sound to film and takes it from there all the way up to the present, and it highlights those people who were outstanding, in different areas of sound. And it talks about ambient sound, how they get the sound of the crowds and whatever. It talks about how they highlight dialogue, how they get different perspectives of sound. It's just, in that respect, it's a fascinating thing to watch. It talks about Barbra Streisand being a pioneer in the word in sound. When she made the movie A Star Is Born with Chris Christopherson, there's a whole story there about how she decided that she wanted the theater goer to get this full experience, of sound coming from all areas, and how much that movie had an impact. So I didn't know she was that involved, but it focuses on Steven Spielberg, and from his earliest days of being a filmmaker, how he became a convert to the utilization of sound and how much different aspects of sound. Francis Ford Coppola, Apocalypse Now, which was a movie that revolutionized some areas of sound, and how he was involved, and how the technicians were, these people who win those awards at the Academy Awards, for sound and sound editing and that type of thing, and you think, who are these people and what do they do? Well, this documentary focuses on some of those people and tells why. Why was it that in the whole aspect of movie making, they became so focused on sound and the quality of sound? So, it's there. Where the documentary falls down is it doesn't make these stories as interesting as it should be. It's more of a tutorial about the history of sound. So it's not rated, but it would fall in the PG category for there's some mild profanity there. I scored it 5 out of 10. It's got a serious subject matter, one that is of interest, but it doesn't play it up to make it that enjoyable visually as you're watching this movie. You don't, there's no drama there. It's just mainly giving you the facts, ma'am, just the facts. The next movie I wanted to mention is a film entitled Entangled. It's about a young woman played by Anna Girardot. She is in a relationship. She's had a miscarriage. She's trying to recover from that. It causes her to be estranged from her partner. They can't communicate. She has her own place. Her partner goes off to Connecticut for the weekend, and she hangs out with friends, and then she hears from an old friend, a guy that she's been involved with several years before, who says he's coming to town and he wants to meet up with her. That doesn't work out, and she ends up in a bar meeting someone else. It's relationships, and they are entangled, and you never really know if she is moving forward or moving back. Anna Girardot is a beautiful young woman. She does a great job of portraying the role, but the script itself doesn't give her a conclusiveness that she needs to have. The film is very artistic. The music is good. It's got a French flavor to it. It's all in English, but she has a French background, so she is involved in that way. But I just wanted the movie to be more. I wanted to know more about the characters. I wanted to have some kind of resolution when it came back, and it didn't have, and that disappointed me. The film itself is rated R. There's profanity and there's nudity. Again, this is all about this one young woman and her relationships and how entangled that they are, but it doesn't sell its story well, so I could only rate it 5 out of 10. Finally, we have another documentary. This one is called Love and Antosha, and it's about the actor Anton Yelchin. Now, I've been seeing Anton Yelchin for years. He was a young man. He was born in Russia. His parents were figure skaters, had some renown. They decided to move to the United States to give their son, their only child, Anton, a chance to really have opportunities. And once they got here, he early on in his life, they discovered that he had cystic fibrosis, but they chose not to tell him at that time because they didn't want to limit, his goals for himself. He knew he had to take, breathing exercises, that type of thing, but he, did not know the serious nature of his disease until he was much older. But he started off in commercials. He was just that cute kid who fit right into commercials perfectly. And then he went on to television roles and had some acclaim. And he was always, that breakout star who's on the verge of really having a huge career. And then he got into movies and he was the breakout star, star of tomorrow, just waiting for that one big break. And he made movies that you would recognize him in, but nothing major until he got the role of Chekhov in the newest version of Star Trek. And he got a lot of acclaim for that role. But the documentary focuses not only his career, but on his personal life, which took some dark turns. You'll see that in the film. But it is a life that, again, it was brief, as you'll see in the film, but it never ever achieved what he was capable of doing. One of the outstanding things was, in all of his career, he never missed a day at work because of illness. He was one of these people who persisted, who kept on, even when he was not well. He worked. He had a strong work ethic. But the issue is, even though everyone's life is important, was this life, worthy of a documentary of this sort? I think his parents were behind it. They wanted the world not to forget their Antosha, and that's the basis for it being made. But nothing ever happened to him that threw him to the forefront of his acting abilities other than his persistence. The film is rated R for profanity and nudity. I scored it 5 out of 10. I just thought it was average. It was the average depiction, not of an average life per se, because the illness and things like that were startling in some ways. But it doesn't present it as anything that grabs you and makes you think, oh, I'm so glad I saw this movie, I'm so glad they made it, etc., etc., etc. He comes across as a good guy with good talent who never got the big break that he deserved, and was, the irony in his life is just amazing. So 5 out of 10 for my entertainment rundown for this movie, which included the other 2 movies that I talked about, all of them getting a score of 5. It was just an average week for the other movies that I saw. Now reach down and hit that subscribe button, because we've got lots of movies coming up in the next few weeks and months, and I don't want you to miss any of them. But my entertainment rundown today is about movies that you might have missed and might want to look up.